today I rise to welcome the direction of the Mental Health Bill. It marks a long overdue shift in how we treat some of the most vulnerable in our society, recognising that people deserve more than crisis care. They deserve dignity, choice and autonomy. But before I continue, I want to say it's been a real privilege to be in the chamber for this important debate, and the very moving speech from my honourable friend, the member for St Neots and Mid-Cambridgeshire, and so many others across this chamber who have shared their constituents and their own personal stories. This bill rightly puts patients at the centre, giving them more say in their treatment, improving the complaints process and introducing personalised care plans. Replacing the outdated nearest relative with a nominated person reflects a broader move towards a more respectful, person-centred system that listens, empowers and supports recovery. But here is the uncomfortable truth. However well-intentioned, this bill will achieve little unless we confront the funding crisis already engulfing our mental health services. This bill is asking overstretched, underpaid staff to deliver changes that demand time and care when many are already at breaking point. And my constituents across Guildford see this every single day. Jennifer came to me in despair over the care of her daughter Leah, who is receiving care at a local mental health unit. Chronic understaffing and lack of support means concerns go unanswered. Underfunding has created a cycle of inadequate care, treatment refused, early discharges to free up beds, and inevitable readmissions when Leah's needs are left unmet. I've heard from Samantha, whose son suffered a psychotic episode that ended in tragedy, a stark reminder of what happens when crises go unsupported. I also want to mention the story of a young woman who I won't name today, but who made a series of attempts on her life until she tragically succeeded after gaining access to a poison from overseas. I know that this is not a unique story, and that multiple coroners have written to the Secretary of State for Health and his predecessors about this issue, and I wonder if the Minister will agree to meet with me to discuss the case and whether it may be possible to use the Mental Health Bill to prevent further similar deaths. And then there's the fact that across this country, people are waiting months, sometimes years, for mental health care. Children and young people are falling through the cracks, and CAMHS is overwhelmed and referrals delayed. Patients are sent miles from home due to local bed shortages. Police are left to respond to mental health emergencies because there's no one else to call. Our system is not just stretched, it is at breaking point. And yet, the proportion of NHS funding going to mental health is falling. Despite soaring demand, despite mental illness making up a fifth of the NHS's burden, and despite the government's promises. These are not just gaps in the system, they are failures of political will. This government... I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. As well as funding from the NHS for direct mental health services, does my honourable friend agree with me that we should also invest in preventative steps to help children to avoid the mental health anguish that they're suffering today?
Absolutely. I thank the honourable member for his intervention, and I can say from my own caseload that there are too many stories where actually, if young people had been given preventative care and support, we would not be facing the tragic situations they and their families are now living through. This government has scrapped key mental health targets, including goals for early intervention, therapy access and physical health checks for people with mental illnesses, and I'm sorry, it signals a retreat at the very moment we need to advance. Madam Deputy Speaker, I support the vision that this bill outlines, but its success depends entirely on the foundation it stands upon. Without adequate investment, even the very best intentions will struggle to take root. Ensuring people can exercise their rights and staff can support them demands more than legislation. It demands real resources and sustained commitment from this government. We need a national effort to rebuild mental health care from the ground up, with early intervention for young people, trained professionals in schools and communities, continuity of care, and a culture shift that treats mental health with the same urgency and seriousness as physical health. Failure is not an option, not for the thousands still waiting, not for the staff stretched to their limits, and not for the communities left to pick up the pieces. We can and we must do better. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.